Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And of course, this is an opinion-based video talking about true crime stories or issues and things that are taking place throughout our country and our world. And if I want to say that I appreciate my continued followers and even my new subscribers. And if any of you all want to support this channel, I do have a Cash App at $Trevor Donald 20. That's $TREVORDONALD 20 on Cash App. And any contributions will be much appreciated to support this channel and bring you interesting dialogue and stories that are taking place in most of our major cities, counties, and states. So this one, I have talked about things in Georgia, Alabama, Chicago, New York, California, and then I have to sometimes talk about things that are right in my backyard coming straight out of St. Louis, Missouri. And this one is in alignment with a previous video that I did about a cult leader in Atlanta, Georgia, who went by, his name was Eligio Bishop, and he had a cult called Carbonation, and he ended up getting convicted on several charges and just recently got sentenced to life in prison in Georgia, and has everything to do with cult-like scenarios, human trafficking, child abuse, and those kinds of things. And now we have one straight out of St. Louis that has an association with Atlanta. And this is right in my backyard, so to speak, in St. Louis. So let's go into this one. A self-proclaimed prophet built a spiritual cult online. Very similar to what Eligio Bishop did in Atlanta. Now, 6 followers are missing. 6 people, including 2 young children, vanished in Missouri last August. Police say they were all followers of self-proclaimed prophet Rashad Jamal. Andrea Cavalier reports. A group of 6 people, including 2 young children, have been missing since August, and police say the adults all have one thing in common. They all openly followed a self-proclaimed prophet and rapper with a massive social media following. After they seemingly vanished without a trace from a rental home in St. Louis, an investigation by the Berkeley Police Department in Missouri was launched. But months later, there are still no answers about their whereabouts. These people are gone, and it blows my mind, Major Steve Runge told The Independent. Michaela Thompson, 25, of St. Louis, Naaman Williams, 30, of Washington, D.C., Jeriel German, 27, of Lake Horn, Mississippi, Ashton Williams, 2, of Lake Horn, another Michaela Wilkerson, 36, of St. Louis, and a Malaya Wilkerson, 3, of St. Louis, were all living in the same house briefly before they disappeared. So remember those names. If anybody knows any of them, reach out to the Berkeley Police or know about their whereabouts or anything that's going on. So I'm bringing this video and to provide exposure and raise our level of consciousness to make our world a safer and better place. They were last seen on August 13th, 2023 at a Quality Inn hotel at 55 Dunn Road in Florissant, Missouri. When police searched the house, they found it left as if the individuals had just gone to the store and were expecting to return. Food was still in the microwave, laundry was still in the washing machine, and what was left behind were several valuables, including a closet full of shoes worth thousands of dollars. Police also discovered an altar, items wrapped in copper, and other odd findings that led them to believe the adults were fully living this cult lifestyle, Major Runge said. The investigation revealed the group had become a part of a spiritual cult, and they follow the teachings of Mr. Rashad Jamal, a self-proclaimed prophet who has tens of thousands of followers across multiple social media platforms, according to the Berkeley police statement. That's amazing, and especially for people of color and African Americans or black folks, starting these channels and trying to have a certain level of intellectualism and positivity. Hardest thing in the world to do is to find followers. But if we come up with crazy, overly sexualized videos or cult-like anti-government, we're going to live off the grid. Many people will join and follow these wacky, negative social media platforms all day long. We love, and especially for our young people, we love negativity, chaos, and disruption, which has replaced anything positive, intellectual, philosophical, anything to fill your spiritual cup up. Nobody wants to hear. But if it's something to denigrate, dehumanize you, do anything by any means necessary to get the bag, not go to school, commit felonious crimes, we love it. Sexy Red is a prime example, who's a rapper from St. Louis. The music is complete debauchery, and she's the top female rapper in the country and the world today, and the record companies are fully behind it and marketing and selling all of this negative, brainwashing, demonic music. But back to the story. Jamal, who was convicted of various crimes in Georgia, remember Eligio Bishop with carbonation was just sentenced to life. And then this guy, Jamal, was connected to Georgia. I wondered, did they know each other? Jamal, who was convicted of various crimes in Georgia, was sentenced in August to 18 years in prison, the statement says. So this guy with this cult here in St. Louis, the authorities caught up with him. But part of this story, the main crux of this story, is that there's 6 individuals that are missing. It is extremely troubling to the family members of all of the missing people. The level of disconnect these cult members have demonstrated with friends and family members is unfathomable, according to police. We have learned that similar cult members travel at great lengths to live off the grid and stay with fellow cult members, and that their economic status does not appear to be a factor. Major Runge, who has been investigating the group's whereabouts for nearly 5 months, said that neighbors noticed some abnormal behaviors before these people vanished. Neighbors reported seeing these people outside daily worshiping the sun. He said when it was raining, they would come outside naked and run around the yard. They were digging up things in the yard. Major Runge said the missing adults went by aliases that pay tribute to certain gods and goddesses, which has been reported as a common theme among many of Jamal's followers. And I'm going to tell you some of these names that I'm going to screw up of these gods and goddesses. So, for example, Miss Thompson called herself Unto Anum Amat. Mr. Williams called himself Anubis, Aramine, and Miss Wilkerson called herself Intuma Aqua Until, according to police. Now, I may have screwed those names up. They're not easy to say. Major Runge said Jamal's followers believe in polygamy and are anti-government, and they encourage anti-government philosophies, encourage followers to go off the grid, and that there is a total disconnection from family and friends. It's amazing whether it is Charlie Manson, David Koresh, all of these cult leaders. Isn't it ironic that there's always a male leader, tons of female followers, very few men, and that the leader believes in polygamy, sleeping with all of the women, brainwashes you to be anti-family and anti-government and to totally disconnect yourself from society, so you just fully worship him, and your vestibule to God is through him. No human is above any other human. And the brainwashing that takes place with many of these insecure women who are in search of some kind of structure and positivity are heading into these kinds of cults. Their family dynamics probably were not in the most stable position, and they find these deranged individuals who wants to have every one of these women to himself in a polygamous lifestyle, and definitely wants you to be anti-government, anti-pharmaceutical. You cure yourself on your own with plants and all of that stuff. Eligio Bishop was doing the same thing in Atlanta. Very similar. David Koresh, Charlie Manson, all of them have almost the same format, and that it seems like they are reading the same cult book to start this kind of following. And I guess there's a new fool every day, which is an old montage for people that are in search of their spirituality through another human. Anytime is that, and I don't care if it's your prosperity preachers of today. They are not your vessel to God or the highway to God, whether it's Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, or any of these other individuals. They're just people. So what's most concerning, Officer Major Runge said, he told Independent, is that the missing individuals had a vast social media presence before they disappeared. They made their money off readings and selling things. But as of August the 13th, they're all gone, silent, and vanished. Rashad Jamal White created the University of Cosmic Intelligence, an online religious group with thousands of followers. According to his website, the University of Cosmic Intelligence is geared toward enlightening and illuminating the minds of the carbonated beings, aka your so-called Black and Latino people of the earth. In my previous video, Eligio Bishop also called his cult carbonated individuals, where both Rashad and Eligio believes that people of color are the superior individuals of the universe because we have come from the closest part of the equator and derive our energy from the sun and the forces in the cosmic and atmospheric space. So white people are inferior and are subservient in these guys' minds. He says, I am God and all of my people, the Black and Latino people, are gods. And we were made in the image of our Creator, Jamal said in a video posted in May of 2022. Same thing Eligio Bishop was saying. Therefore, I am an extension of her, them, and I am the creator and destroyer of my reality. So I take full responsibility for all events that I have experienced throughout this lifetime. For this is what we call shadow work in the spiritual realm. I don't know why anybody is believing this nonsense. Jamal has had a massive following on social media. Now listen to this. With nearly 200,000 followers on TikTok, more than 10,000 followers on X, and 90,000 followers on Instagram. If this is not a measuring stick where we need to look in the mirror in society, that there are so many people that are suffering from mental illness, that are looking for some kind of force outside of their own spirituality and their inner self to find direction and completion. And it is never through some human being that thinks he's the second coming of the Messiah, think he's godlike. As soon as you hear any of those kinds of words, and he's got all of these women running around half naked, digging up dirt, same as Eligio Bishop, Charlie Manson, run away as fast as possible, even if you don't know where you're running to or going. In his videos, he made wild claims that birds are actually drones operated by the U.S. government. I've heard that conspiracy theory before, to spy on its citizens. That the Mississippi River is really the Nile River, and that Arizona is a gateway to Africa. So all he's doing is, in this conspiracy about the government killed all the birds in the 1940s and 50s, was started by a white guy who used it as a joke to see if that message would go viral. All the birds disappearing and that they're drone spying on people has been something that has been talked about on social media platforms for years, for those of you who are not aware of this. His relationship with the Mississippi River as the Nile. I mean, come on, the Mississippi River is right here in St. Louis. That's an easy, false symbolic, religious comparison to the Nile River. What else is he going to say? Carlisle Lake, the Lake of the Ozarks, and that Arizona is a gateway to Africa because Arizona is hot. It's amazing. If you look at the state of Arizona, that is the one state, if you remember, that was the last state to accept the Martin Luther King federal holiday back in the day. And Arizona is one of the whitest states in America. Phoenix and some of the other major cities there, there's not a whole lot of black people. There are tons of Hispanic, tons of white folks. So that's the last state. And some of their laws on the books for minorities and affirmative action issues, Arizona has always voted against it. So how could Arizona be the semblance of Africa? I would pick Mississippi before that, just based on demographics and, as I said, the relationship with the number of blacks, whites, and Hispanics that live in Arizona. So it's just total delusional craziness. In August, Jamal was found guilty of child molestation and sentenced to 18 years in prison, according to court documents. Later that same month, he filed a motion for a new trial, citing the state's failure to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, do you see this other theme that goes on with these guys, with these cults? Not only are they committing abuses and sexual misconduct against adult women, many of them have committed child molestation and have done egregious things to children. It's the same thing that was accused about David Koresh in Texas, and many of these cult leaders. The theme and the accusations are all the same. He says the only law I had broken was speaking out against oppression. Really? While he's oppressing his followers. Jamal said in a YouTube video posted last week, the only thing I am guilty of is freeing the minds of my people and speaking out against this system. And I'll never go back. I will never back down from that. Now, the mother of the missing woman living her worst nightmare, Michaela Wickerson, 25, and her 3-year-old daughter were 2 of the 6 people living in the rental home near St. Louis Lambert International Airport for months before the group vanished, police said. Her mother, Cartesia Morgan, says she is living her worst nightmare. She said she began to worry when she had not heard from Miss Wilkerson or her 3-year-old granddaughter since last March, when the woman cut off all communication with her family, quit her corporate job, and maxed out her credit cards. Ms. Morgan said her daughter had been manipulated by an online cult led by Jamal. Her mom said, Ms. Morgan said, mental illness is real. I talk about this all the time. It's one of the 7 pillars that we need to pay attention to that is destroying our moral fabric in America. Mental illness is real. Manipulation is real, she said. There are a lot of things going on out here, and we just need to be aware of it. If you see something that's off, please take measures to get them help as quickly as possible. I would have never imagined that I'd never have known my daughter and know where my daughter and granddaughter are right now. I would have never imagined that I'd never have known where my daughter and granddaughter are right now. They're missing, says Miss Morgan. Co-followers accused of murder in this cult. In 2022, several of Jamal's followers were accused of committing 2 separate murders in Alabama. And you've heard me talk about things that have taken place in Alabama. The most recently was the murder and torture of Mahogany Jackson by like 7 or 8 people that looked just like her. And she was an African-American 23-year-old woman with a 3-year-old child who was tortured and murdered. Thank God they got those individuals in custody. But you can look at that video on my YouTube channel too to hear that story. Damian Winslow Washam allegedly used a sword to kill his own mother and injured his disabled uncle and brother, according to the Daily Mail. He was later cleared of the charges due to reason of insanity. So that Damian guy was part of Jamal's cult. Crystal Diane Pickens and Yasmin Hyder were sentenced last month for killing 22-year-old college student Adam Sinji in August 22. Pickens and Hyder, who were living off the grid, flagged down Sinji and his girlfriend, another Michaela Paulus, in the Talladega National Forest in Alabama and told them they needed help with their car, sheriff's officials said. Hyder pulled a gun on them after they stopped to help and ordered them to drop their belongings and walk into the woods. Simji also then pulled his gun and an exchange of fire ensued, with both Simji and Hyder being hit. Hyder was sentenced to 35 years in prison in this case, while Pickens has been sentenced to life. And they were all part of this cult too. So you got 6 individuals missing since last year. 2 of his followers went and committed murder in Alabama. There is absolutely nothing that comes out positive in these cults. This is happening for all my listeners right in the backyard of St. Louis. And this is just not the only one. There are several of them that are taking place. And I'm trying to provide exposure, get these individuals off the street, get these followers the help that they need to restore some kind of stability in life, both mentally, physically, spiritually, philosophically. And have a life of substance that is not led by some other human being. Mental illness is real. People are in search of trying to find help and leadership. And there was an old time when we did that by going to school, by having a great family dynamic. And now these technological platforms and technology has superseded us as parents, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers, mothers, fathers, and technology is great, but it can also be used in the wrong direction. And back in the day, in the Charlie Manson era and the David Koresh's, you really didn't have this social media platform. They had to pick their followers by vocalizing in person. And now an individual who is well-spoken or is some kind of orator can garner 200,000 followers in a blink of an eye due to social media. So we need to be very careful of this axiom that using social media as a positive platform versus a negative. And there's several of these spiritual cult leaders that are out here. And I'm telling all my listeners and followers, and even with people that are going through things, please don't follow them. Please don't follow them. Be in search of the help that you need if you're feeling unstable and in a vulnerable state, and following these spiritual cults and being anti-government is not the way to go. Tell me what you think. This is a Trevor Donald experience. We had a real live cult and human trafficking taking place throughout our major cities and even in St. Louis, and we need to get a handle on it. And human trafficking is another real issue that's part of the 7 or 8 pillars that's destroying our country. Recently in Polk County near Tampa, Florida, they had a sting that arrested 228 individuals, which was fantastic just a few weeks ago, last month. And we need to get this human trafficking off the street and under control, the opioid crisis, homelessness, gun violence, mental illness. We need to get a handle on and provide a vestibule of help through our social services. And let's get rid and kill these cults and these spiritual leaders that are pointing people in the wrong direction. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.